Oh. Copyright ID. G'day, friends. Welcome to Moulin Rouge.
The Moulin Rouge.
The Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, Moulin Rouge.
I had to bring Steve in. At
Hi.
this point, I feel like Steve is an inch away from starting his own movie review channel and a Baz Luhrmann Appreciation Society.
You have no idea. Like,
I have an idea.
like, you know, there's obsession, but like this obsession is real. And I don't know where it stems from or where it really comes from, but I love it.
I believe that Baz fleshes out these worlds that we kind of wish we lived in.
Yeah, I mean, super three-dimensional worlds, you know what I mean? And I think...
Hyper-theatrical.
Hyper-theatrical, vivid, bright...
Yes, saturation all the way up.
All the way up. And, and what I love about it is that he doesn't apologize for it. It's every single... He uses so many elements in his storytelling, and he uses it to the nth degree. Like, you know, turns it all the way up. And I love it. And I live for it. Yeah, it's some of the most incredible storytelling that I've ever seen throughout any of his films. And I think that's just why I love him. And I feel like I relate to him. I get him.
Yeah, definitely a very inspirational Australian. Him and his wife, Catherine Martin.
Yeah.
Power team, power couple, power duo.
Yeah, literally. And the thing is, I mean, his wife, Catherine Martin, she's the costume designer and production designer for most of his movies.
Yeah. So actually, I mean, today's SKETCHFLIX is pretty much brought to you by Catherine Martin.
Yeah.
Because I pulled some costume inspiration for this one, honey.
Yeah.
I love the costuming in this movie. Well, did I say what we're doing? The Moulin Rouge,
yes,
right?
Of course.
The intro was a lot. I didn't know if we got the message across. So SKETCHFLIX, I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you might have seen one already. If you haven't, basically pop on a movie, sketch my way through it, pulling inspiration from anything that I see on the screen, whether it's character design or development, mise en scène, I love to say that, just themes, costume, anything.
Any element that inspires you.
Just drawing my way through it because, you know, when you're learning, nothing is done in vain. So practice, practice, practice.
Right.
I love to practice my drawing and get it going. We actually just did the Parent Trap, the original Parent Trap in Playtest Patreon.
Yes, we did.
Which was super fun. And we did a little extra thing there where we put timestamps by every drawing for how long it took in real time to do.
Yeah.
And that was super interesting because I came to realize that some of my drawings that were literally the quickest one I did in that SKETCHFLIX was 25 seconds.
And it inspired so much of...
It was a collar, like a collar on a dress, collar. And it reappeared 4 more times in that SKETCHFLIX, which was kind of fascinating to me because how many times do we often just doodle something and think, oh, you know, or like, I don't have time to doodle anything.
We feel like it's insignificant, but it ends up being more significant.
If I can't sit down for 20 minutes, it's not going to be worthwhile. I have done something that took 25 seconds that I pulled for inspiration from like 20 minutes more drawing on that. So I just want to encourage you that truly nothing is done in vain when you're learning.
Yeah.
If you're doing client work, I suggest you spend more than 25 seconds on your piece, but that's not what we're here for. We're drawing through the Moulin Rouge, and I actually wanted to put this out before. I was debating. Steve really wanted me to save this for after we come back from my birthday trip.
Yes.
But I said, as if you're not going to use another video to try and talk about that, or possibly a podcast. I think in Playtest Patreon, we might try to work it in there, because... Heaven knows Steve's going to have a lot to say.
I hope I have a lot to say. I kind of want to, I don't know what to go in with. I don't really have too many expectations of... By the way, we are going to Boston and taking James on a birthday trip in less than 2 weeks. And we are going to go see the production of Moulin Rouge, the stage production of Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Which is stage adaptation of the film. And it's actually kind of, you know, the
Baz Luhrmann film.
The Baz Luhrmann film. And they've been in, it's been in works and in talks for literally since the movie came out in 2001. So, I mean...
I've always thought it would make a great musical.
And that's what everybody said. And, there was always talks, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And, you know, it's finally happening. And
I feel like it popped out of nowhere for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I saw it on Instagram one day and I was like, Steve, do you know this was happening?
And I was like, yeah, but I didn't realize how soon it was happening. So anyway, so it's super exciting, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what they have adapted for the stage, the liberties that they've taken, and see how it works. So far, people who I know who have gone to go see it have just raved about it.
Yeah, which really kicked in my FOMO.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
Theme of 2018 has been FOMO for me. We've realized that it's a deep-rooted family problem.
Yeah.
So once I started hearing people talk about it, and I have a friend that's in the show. Like like we know that it's been going on, and we've heard the great things about it. But you always take everything with a grain of salt because, you know, as with everything artistic, it's subjective, whether you like it or not.
Right, and we don't know necessarily like what it's going to turn into or what it's going to be like, especially because it's the out-of-town tryout before it opens in New York. And, you know, the idea is that it is going to go to New York, it's going to go to Broadway, but who knows? It could be one of those, like, seems like a perfect musical, ends up being a disaster, and then it never transfers to New York, and that would be terrible and devastating.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think we love this so much, even if it was a disaster, we'd be, like, standing up, standing ovation, still proclaiming everything that worked.
I'd have to see it. I would have to see it. I don't think I would be able to live with myself, because Moulin Rouge is probably my number one favorite movie of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff in there, the dancing, I obviously love the dancing. I got to see a part of the set at Fox Studios when I was 10 or 11.
In Australia?
Yeah, get this. I had fractured my foot doing a cartwheel in the kitchen, landed on a kitchen chair.
Of course.
No word of a lie. And me being as dramatic as I was like, I can't walk around Fox Studios all day because, like, I've got a fractured foot. Got a wheelchair. So priority access everywhere.
Right.
Isn't that awful? And, like, I felt super uncomfortable because I knew, and I felt like everyone else knew, that I shouldn't have been in that wheelchair.
But you were.
Because I had, like, my foot was all bandaged up and I had crutches. Like, you could see the crutches on the back of the wheelchair, but I just knew I was kind of faking it. Also, though, I was like 10 or 11. I didn't want to walk around the whole park for as long as I did.
You probably didn't know. Like,
I'm just outing myself
kind of,
here.
Like, boring.
Yeah, no. It was great. They actually had a Titanic exhibit too.
Nice.
So I've got you and Stella just seething with jealousy over
literally.
my experience as a 10-year-old Australian.
And you just didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, I did appreciate it. Has anyone else been to Fox Studios in Australia? Do you know what I'm talking about? They had a Babe Pig in the City set there too.
How funny.
The most random thing. Because Baz is Australian.
Yes, Baz is Australian.
So I'm going to claim that. And his wife, Catherine Martin.
Yeah.
And, you know, Nicole Kidman.
Australian.
Australian.
So is the one who plays Lily, the prostitute.
A lot of the dancers in there, Australian.
Yeah. It's, heavily, primarily Australian cast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was shot in Australia.
Yeah, in the studios.
And there's some was shot somewhere else too. Because they were talking about in the special features when they spliced the footage together, and I had no idea.
No, Moulin Rouge is shot entirely on soundstage. But what they did is they had to go back in your song during that sequence when they go fly up into the sky and they're on that set, on the Eiffel Tower set with the glitter and the red umbrella. They had to go back. Nicole Kidman apparently broke her leg at some point, and so she shot some of that with a broken leg. And I think those were the up close. That's where they had to film. I think she might have even been filming another movie. I think that might have been in New York. But that bit was filmed, like when in that scene and you see an up close of her looking, you just see her facing the camera. That is the part that is filmed outside of Fox Studios. But it's all soundstage.
Oh, I thought there was... either way, you know, movie magic.
Movie magic.
I love it. I love the costume design in this. One of my favorite costumes is the when she does Diamonds, or Girl's Best Friend.
The hat?
The sparkling diamond.
Yeah.
I love the hat, but I love when she is in the circle of all the can-can dancers and she does the quick change. She pulls that hair out. Perfect finger wave.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere.
Right.
She went from
out of those perfect like
ringlet perfect
curls.
Ringlet ponytail. She pulls it out. She's like one shake. Wow.
Yeah.
And like Pantene Pro V commercial.
Yeah.
And then she emerges and she has that beautiful pink leotard with all the crystals on it, and she's got that massive feather boa bustle.
Yeah.
And it is so perfect, just ostrich feathers flying everywhere. And that, to me, is one of the most stunning, so I had to draw it. But also, I love that when Baz went and did the Chanel No. 5 commercial, he was like, I'm just going to use that.
Oh, why wouldn't you?
Because it's so good. And it's the most dramatic thing to see in slow motion. Like, I've watched the start of that commercial probably about 100 times. I'm going to link it in the description box below.
Beautiful.
I believe this is not the first time I've linked that commercial.
No.
Because I've talked about it before.
Right.
But it is stunning. It's Nicole Kidman in it. Essentially, he took basically the Moulin Rouge and made a 30-second version of it for Chanel No. 5.
Right, and kind of changed the story a little bit. Or modernized the story, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Catherine Martin, Baz's wife, is the costume designer of this film, and she won the Oscar for.
Well, so she should.
Yeah, and Moulin Rouge was nominated for Best Picture that year, and Nicole Kidman was nominated for Best Actress. But yeah, Catherine Martin, she totally won it, and why wouldn't she? I mean, it's so stunning, it's so creative, it's so specific, and that's what I think I love about Baz Luhrmann's movies, is that because everything is intentional, and there's a story behind everything, and they're so incredibly detailed. Like, Catherine Martin talks in the special features about her costume design with the Can-Can dancers, and how the idea was that they wanted it to, when they lifted up their skirts, that it looked like a flower. And so that's why, like, for her, like, all of them there's fun designs on the inside of it, and that, the panties essentially are a specific color to look like when they
Please don't say that word on my public YouTube channel.
They're underwear, I should say. They're bloomers, rather.
Yes.
They're bloomers, sorry, forgive me. The bloomers are the ones that that should be a different color to make it look like a full flower, which I thought, oh, that's super interesting. And then she does it, and she takes, she runs with it, and she modernizes something that is so classic and and old, and she just made it so incredibly relevant.
She also gave them those ones with distinct character designs, like Little Bo Peep.
Yeah. All of them have a different, and there's even courtesans, like the twins, because there's twin Can-Can dancers.
Here's the degrees of separation here of all of this Moulin Rouge stuff is just too funny for words, because my best friend literally went to a dance school, and one of her dance teachers was in this.
So
and I was a part of a bridal party, and one of the bride's groomsmen was a dancer in this. Now, I was not a dancer in this, and I'd like to know how that happened. Right. I was way too young. This was, because I was still a kid when this came out.
2001.
But Nicole Kidman, she'd been around for a while, and she was most known for BMX Bandits. If you caught her in her frizzy perm stage. But this is who Nicole Kidman is to me. Nicole Kidman has always been Satine for me, and every time I see her play something else, I'm like, oh, congratulations, you moved into something else.
But I feel like that's kind of how she is for most people. Or maybe that's just
No,
us.
I think a lot of people probably see her from, what's that one she did with Tom Cruise?
Oh, Far and Away?
Yeah. I think they see her for that.
Or
BMX Bandits.
Or Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut, is that the one? Yeah, no. Was Penelope Cruz in that too?
No, I don't know. I never saw Eyes Wide Shut. Apparently that was very adult-themed.
Yeah, I was way too young for that.
Yeah, I never saw it.
I'm not really interested in it anymore. I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan.
Oh, well, yeah. Anyway, Moulin Rouge.
You're so mad I might change the subject. What's your favourite... we don't have 7 hours, but what's your favourite scene from the Moulin Rouge? And then I want to go into favourite song.
My favourite scene?
Well, don't go favourite. Let's just go one that off the top of your head and just describe how that scene, what that is for you.
I can't even, I don't know. I literally don't even know.
You're so white girl. I can't even.
No, because it's like there's something so beautiful about all of them. I mean, I love this opening sequence is so great when they go into the Moulin Rouge and they introduce the sparkling diamond, and this whole song and dance is so phenomenal. If you watch the film editing is so incredible because
this is still film.
Yeah, it's film, and all the cutaways between the conversations that are happening with the party behind them and how he tells that story. You can feel the crazy of what is happening. I remember trying to get my voice teacher back in the day when this movie came out. I was like, you have to see it, and she was like, I had to turn off. I was throwing up because the camera angles, blah 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 blah. And I was
really?
I was like, oh my goodness. And I knew so many people who felt that way, and I was like, you guys really? It's not that bad. But I love that, and I think I also Your Song is definitely, I think, probably one of my top favorite moments. Like when they go into the sky and like the glitter is raining down on them, and they've got that red umbrella, and it's just, to me, is what I feel like new love is all about. Like when you fall in love with somebody, like all the fireworks and the spectacle and everything that happens, that to me is just kind of how it's represented in a very
Is that what you
fantastical.
felt for me?
I mean, we did have fireworks.
We did, actually. That's probably why it all happened.
Yeah.
You were feeling the Moulin Rouge fantasy.
What about you? Favorite scene?
Oh, I love El Tango de
Yeah,
Roxanne.
that's the other one that I actually super love.
Just gets me. It makes me want to get up and dance. Actually, this soundtrack I had when I was a little boy, and definitely tried to redraw the album art a couple of times.
So good.
It's so funny too, like, the Moulin Rouge is a real place with, you know, topless dancers.
Yeah.
Me as a 10-year-old little boy, like, probably shouldn't know about it. My mum always gives me Mum always gives me a hard time, and she's like, "Oh, are you watching the topless women again?"
Yeah.
You know.
Like, no.
Yeah. Watch out, Steve.
Yeah. Well, and
Might be tempted.
well, like when you go to the Tango, the Tango de Roxanne, it's so incredible. Also, just again, storytelling. You know exactly what's happening and how it is translated in that dance. And I love their quick movements, those flicks, and those full body just.
And I know how hard that is to do. I know what that demand is on your body. I know that, like, I know how intense they are actually dancing, and that whole thing was choreographed. And that's what I love about, you know, like, before everything was digital and you knew exactly what you were going to film and when you were going to film it. You know, back in the day, you would have to film everything you needed to get because it wasn't easy to try and recreate it. It would cost a lot of money.
Right.
Like, you might as well choreograph a whole dance and have it filmed to take your pieces than only choreograph 20 seconds and then do some, you know, clever editing afterwards. So the fact that whole thing was choreographed, and there you can actually see it. I don't know where I have seen the rest of it. Maybe on YouTube or
No. It's in the special features because you
Yeah.
can also watch the different camera angles.
Right. To watch how much of the other choreography there is so incredible to me because you don't get to see any of that in the movie, but they did it. And you can tell when they're cutting between movements that those dancers didn't just like, they're like, action, then they started moving. They'd been going for like 20 minutes already. They're exhausted. They're sweating for real. They're like in it. And the commitment to all of that craft is so incredible to me. You see so much talent in every aspect of the film. Even like, you know, Nicole and just singing her face off. She's not a singer.
No, but
Nicole
her
doesn't sing.
Well, that's the thing. Her and Ewan both. Ewan McGregor, like, they were never known to be singers, and I think even Ewan, he just kind of, you know, liked to sing, but didn't consider himself a singer at all. And this movie, they just here we are because
let's just do it. Let's go for it.
Well, they just do it, and you know what they also don't know is that Baz and Catherine Martin, they have I don't know if they still have this place. I'm assuming maybe they do, but back when they were filming like Romeo and Juliet and Strictly Ballroom and Nicole Kidman, like the late 90s, early 2000s, they had a home that they called House of Iona. And it was kind of this like big ranch type of area where it was like their creative space, and all their friends would come over and they would just create together
Goals.
and
Many dream goals.
even with Gatsby, I think they might even have, I'm assuming they still have it because I know that they would go and do readings there for Gatsby as well. And it's just decorated, very kind of opulent, very similar to the Moulin Rouge. Like there's you know, you see them like in the special features, they take you and, you know, they show interviews of what they did in costume. They did costume tests, they did on camera like wig tests and everything. But this soundtrack was recorded in one of those bedrooms.
Really?
They didn't go to a big sound studio.
No way.
They just set up the microphone. They set up,
I love that.
you know, like they had the track. I'm assuming that the orchestra is recorded probably in London or wherever they recorded it. Maybe even Australia. I don't know about that part. I'm not going to pretend to know. But I do know that the vocals were recorded just in the room.
And you know what? It's funny when you say like it's all
In
decorated the same way, very opulent, because I believe that first and foremost, when, you know, Catherine and Barry Luhrmann are putting together...
Which Barry's not his real name at all. I don't even know, but Baz is his nickname, I know that much.
When I feel like they're putting it all together, I feel like first and foremost they're doing what they love, and then they'll worry about the rest later.
Yeah.
I don't think they're so concerned with rules.
No.
I don't think they really care for that realism.
No.
I think they have full fantasies, and I think you can sense how much fun they have playing with all of that every time you watch one of their films that they work on together. And I just love that. And obviously, I mean, they have muses that they love to work with. And it's just so different. And people either love it or hate it. I've never come across someone that's like, oh yeah, Moulin Rouge, I don't know, maybe I should. People,
I mean, I have, but whatever.
Oh, okay. I mean, people either love to hate Baz Luhrmann as a director or love to love him.
Yeah.
Because it's a bold choice.
Well,
but don't you want to be bold?
Well, and that's what they're about, right? It's a heightened reality. And so he goes back and he says, with Strictly Ballroom, if you haven't seen Strictly Ballroom, I would highly suggest that you watch it. It was made in the early 90s.
Tina Sparkle. Pan Pacific Grand Prix.
You know, and like...
Sonia Kruger's in that. For all my Aussies, I don't know if you know this, but Sonia Kruger is Tina Sparkle. It shocked me when I realized.
And if you've seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding, that film, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the cousin Nikki is Scott Hastings' dance partner. The one with like the bleach blonde hair. I want Ken Railings to come in here and tell me Pam's whatever her name is broken both her legs and I want to dance with you. But so as a kid, I remember literally going to Blockbuster, the video store, and it was a Friday
Those are
night.
extinct now.
Yeah, and it's right. It's a Friday night, and you know it's movie night, and we'd go to look at the new releases. And sometimes, if it was a really popular movie, there was like 50 of them, and they were all checked out because it was a new release. Everybody wanted to see it. But every now and then there was a section of new releases that they had just a couple of movies because those were probably like not the big blockbusters. And I looked at the cover of this movie and it said Strictly Ballroom. And now I knew that like my mom liked dancing, growing up in Ecuador. I knew that there was, some type of thing with that, and it was just like glitter on the cover. And I looked at it and I read the review and I was like, Mom, I want this one. And she looked at it and read it. She's like, yeah, I'll get it. Why not? And we got it just not knowing anything. And of course they have like all this Latin ballroom type music, which is stuff that my mom grew up with. And she like gagged. She was all about it.
Really?
We went and we bought the tape. And we listened to it in the car. And like we loved this movie.
I was in the air.
Yeah. But and also you won't admit you love me. But no, so that was just kind of our that was my introduction to Baz Luhrmann was Strictly Ballroom, and I just watched it over and over and over again, and I loved that movie. And then of course in like 96 Romeo and Juliet came out.
Yeah, which I studied in high school.
Right, and
literally the movie version.
That movie version.
Yeah, that movie version. And we had to memorize the whole opening, the whole opening monologue.
Can you do it as Jamae?
I have a party trick where I do the. No, I'm not doing it.
Do it.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it online. You guys are gonna have to meet me in person to get that one.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's
households.
Jamae from Summer Heights High, or We Can Be Heroes.
Yeah.
I can do the opening monologue from Romeo and Juliet.
With a lot of dignity. But no, it's like so. Then of course Romeo and Juliet came out, and everybody was obsessed with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, and it was so big. I guess my point of all of this is that Baz Luhrmann and Catherine Martin, they don't apologize for anything, and they are so good about the heightened reality, because that's what it is. In Strictly Ballroom, the heightened reality is the dance. They tell the story primarily through ballroom dancing, and that is Baz Luhrmann's. Like he was a ballroom dancer as a kid, so that's his history. And then of course you go to Romeo and Juliet, and the heightened reality is the Shakespeare prose, and how they tell that story through in the convention of Old English, but modernizing it with a contemporary set and costume design.
I mean Mercutio gets in drag, so
right, which is so clever and so good. And then of course with Moulin Rouge, the heightened reality is song and dance. It's the music, so everything is done through through the musical aspect. And then later on with Gatsby, it's just the avant-garde, the style, the fashion, and that's how the story is told, which is so key and so interesting. But that's what I love about it, is that they do not apologize for any of it, ever. And they're so strong about it. They're like, this is what we're doing, and we're going to do that. Yeah. And you're going to like it. And if you don't,
it's okay. There'll be another one.
Yeah.
Also probably a very Australian attitude to have.
But I mean, I love it. Like, and that's what, to me, like, I embrace it, I celebrate it, and I'm like, that's the kind of storyteller that I want to be.
Yeah, it's the kind of creative that you aspire to be like. I think as creative role models, they would be incredible mentors to have.
I wouldn't even know, like, if I ever met them, I don't even know where I would begin.
Just say thank you.
I feel like that's such a cop-out, though.
No, you'd be thankful. I'm thankful. To anyone that I would, be inspired by, or that's been such a key part of my journey, I would just thank. There's nothing more you can do other than thank and actually use what they've inspired you to do something.
Yeah.
I think the best way you could honor someone having taught you something is to practically apply what they taught you.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
And you do. You photograph with... you cast the way you think that those films have been cast. Yeah. You try to tell the stories the way that those stories have been told. You pull so much inspiration from, if not like the set design or the costume design, like the themes and the emotions. Like, I think that in itself is an honourable thing to do for someone that you find to be inspirational.
Yeah. I just don't know how they do it. Like, who thinks, like, let's put a singing moon in there? Because that's love.
Maybe there was something more sinister going on. I don't know.
Let's do singing moon. And then, like, we'll look at the history. Oh, like, there was an elephant, but nobody really went into the elephant. But there was an elephant, so let's actually put them in the elephant, because why not?
Yeah, I mean...
And we'll have this very Indian theme with courtesans and...
That's the thing, too, like...
And maharajas.
That...
Excuse me.
That whole styling was so opulent. And did I mention that when you said like that's how they decorated that place? Yeah. That makes sense. If that's what they love, it's going to show up.
Yeah.
If that's what you love, you know, that is what you should be creating with. Why would you choose any other subject matter? You want to choose the stuff that like it inspires you. Your creativity wants to get more creativity.
And the stuff that you know or that you're comfortable with, too.
Yeah, and why not make it work? I think that's the thing, it's just like that reckless abandon, right?
Yeah.
They have... It doesn't seem like they've ever cared to pander to what anyone said. It seems like they've always come in really strong with an opinion and forced people to believe that.
Right, and I do appreciate that also, like, the how they've inspired other generations. Like, you know, I have friends who did... They did a concert version. They took all of Baz Luhrmann's films, and they here in LA.
So good.
And they staged a concert called For the Record, Baz Luhrmann, and they took his 4 films, Strictly Ballroom, Romeo and Juliet, Moulin Rouge, and Gatsby, and they essentially intertwine the stories and the songs. They take the soundtracks of the movies and create a full celebration to Baz Luhrmann, but all it with one story. You know, with showcasing all the characters. And it's so clever. It was so clever. It's so well done. They did it several years ago. And more recently, it's currently in Vegas in a show called Baz, Star-Crossed Love. But unfortunately, it closes in 2 weeks. But it is just so good to see how they have inspired them with the music. And, you know, and, like, kind of talking more on just, like, how they've inspired me, personally, I appreciate, like, how you say, like, how they're just so unapologetic with it. And it does encourage me in the sense where I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
If they can, you know, be opulent and avant-garde and big and go, like, just go that direction because they're just choosing to do it, then I can too.
Yeah. And me too. And you too.
Yeah.
Anyone could. I bet sometimes we need that permission slip. Sometimes we need to make sure that someone else has tested that water before we dip our toe in there. But I think they do it so well, and I think it speaks to you because you love it so much. And I introduced Steve to a Baz movie that he didn't know about.
Yeah, Australia.
And
you want to know what's so interesting about that is because I was like, oh yeah, Baz did it. I don't know. I heard kind of some mixed reviews with it. I was like, no, I don't think I'm really going to like it.
Because the Australians were reviewing it. And we were like, yeah, it's alright.
But when I watched it just recently, this past December, right around Christmas is when we watched it, and I was just, again...
You were in it to win it.
I was so into it, and I loved
Bit of Hugh Jackman's.
Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman.
Nikki Kidd.
And it's just set in the 40s in like World War II.
They have a bit of a Wizard of Oz theming going on there, which really speaks to me.
Yeah, heavy Wizard of Oz theming. But essentially it's what kind of like how Americans experienced Pearl Harbor is. It's the same type of story.
It's the same. At the end of World War II, set in Darwin in Australia, and the and what happened there. So if you guys don't even know about that, I don't really want to be the one to educate people on that.
No, but go watch the movie because it's so well done.
Yeah, go watch Australia. You'll find it's essentially our version of Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and it's definitely a pushed heightened reality, but it's probably, in my opinion, maybe the one of his films that is the most grounded in reality.
Yeah, true. And there's actually some there's a lot of theming with Indigenous Australia in there, which might be interesting for people to learn about because being an immigrant to another country, you don't really hear about countries' native indigenous peoples.
Right.
You know their current standing if you keep up to date with any news or politics or anything, but I always find it kind of fascinating to learn about the native culture of the countries that we're in.
Yeah.
So go check that out if you don't have any idea about that either. Or don't check any of it out. Just watch the SKETCHFLIX and be done.
Yeah.
But either way, I hope you had a great time watching and listening.
I feel like I could keep going on and on and on. But...
Right, and I think we'll be on a podcast in Patreon, I'm sure, trying to chat about the experience of watching the play.
I cannot believe it.
The show, the Broadway musical, Bound for a Broadway musical. I'm so excited. Honestly, we're probably going to go twice because why not? We're literally only going to Boston to go there.
To see the show and to see our friend.
To see the show and a friend, but yeah, so we can't wait to share that with you and... thank you for watching SKETCHFLIX. I seriously love doing these. I love being able to flex these skills. I love what I learned from them, and I love like just some of the stuff that just comes out.
You know, and I will say this, like, this is probably one of my favorite things that you do, because when you say you love what comes out, I find that it is a very raw and organic part of your process. And, excuse me, and if you aren't surprised by how talented you are, then it only affirms to me how incredible you are at this. And where your imagination goes is incredibly inspiring to me. So I love that you do these, and like I'm obsessed with all of these photos that we just saw get drawn, and I want them to be put on prints and postcards, and I want to make posters of them and put them everywhere because they're so beautiful. And
I'm probably just going to keep drawing that pink feather boa thing.
No, I'm so good at like the legs, the everything, like your silhouette, your proportions. I
little Kylie Minogue green fairy.
I love it.
Did you catch her on the absinthe? Look, I thank you for saying that. That's really sweet. I do really enjoy it. I mentioned this in Patreon as well, but when you're learning, nothing is done in vain. So even if it's a 25-second sketch, if you feel like you want to get it down on paper, just do it, because you have no idea what that might inspire you to do tomorrow, 3 days from now, a month from now. I come back to this thing all the time and pull inspiration.
It's so good.
I've used that stupid ribbon idea tons of times now that it's almost like a part of my repertoire. But, you know, had I not just, you know, stumbled across these ideas in this very, like you said, organic, raw state of my mind, then, you know, who knows where I'd be now.
Well, like, I don't know if I've ever seen you draw, like, I mean, Satine on the Swing with, like, those proportions and those legs. I know you can.
No, those legs were coming, those legs were a little bit, from when I was experimenting with those tiny feet.
Yeah, from
the Parent Trap one.
But they look so good.
See, I mean, it's just one thing after another.
I love it.
Anyway, we'll leave you with that. We'll be back, I'm sure, soon, either here or on Patreon, to chat about the Moulin Rouge musical.
Yeah, and if you are in Boston or in that area and you like Baz Luhrmann and you haven't thought about going to the Moulin Rouge, make sure you go check it out. It's at the Emerson Colonial Theater in Boston, and I'm sure they would love to have many people come see their show.
You better get an affiliate link for that.
I should, right?
Alrighty, we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.